Welcome to Resource Sessions. I'm Gwendolyn Sterk of Sterk Family Law, and I'm honored and privileged today to have with me Norma Peterson of Document the Abuse. Norma, welcome. Thank you for being on.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Gwen. I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate everything that you do in our community. So let's not hesitate. Let's talk about Document the Abuse. Tell us a little bit about your organization.
So, as is apparent when you say document the abuse, that kind of goes to what we do. We house what's called an evidentiary abuse affidavit, which is a mouthful. So, we shorten it up by saying EAA. So, we house what's called the EAA, which is a way for victims of violence to be able to talk about what's going on with them in a very unique way and at no cost to them. So it's a way for you to
Fantastic,
put
right?
all of your information together and you don't have to worry about where it's at. And this is a free resource that we as a nonprofit provide for any and everyone who might be feeling a little bit like they're in a situation that they're not sure, or maybe there's things going on. Now you've got a way to talk about it in a digital diary, if you will.
100%. So tell us a little bit about the history of the organization. What was the impetus that pulled you into this work?
So how we got started. So if you um well, if you're of a certain age and you're from the Illinois area, and really it was a pretty big case nationally, but about what will be 18 years ago on October 28th, my sister-in-law, Stacy Peterson, went missing here in Bolingbrook, Illinois. And when that happened and she went missing, it started a whole series of events that we could have never imagined as a family that we would have to go through. So, in going through that and then finding out that my sister-in-law, Kathleen Savio, who was Drew Peterson's third wife, um, was then determined to have died by homicide at his hands. And we went through a court trial. And in going through that court trial, basically, we found out a lot of things that Kathleen Savio had done or said or, in some way engaged the system and to no avail, and wound up dying at his hands, basically. He was convicted of her murder and so is now in prison because of that. In going through all of that, I met a woman by the name of Susan Murphy-Milano, who was a Chicago area domestic violence awareness advocate that had worked quite extensively. She had been on Good Morning America, Oprah, all the big shows back in the day. She was the expert. And she had written a couple of books. And one of them, I got it right back here because I drag it around with me everywhere,
Mhm.
is called Moving Out and Moving On. So this is really where the EAA started in its first iteration or in its first format. And to tell you how old that is, it's got a CD because we can't even do CDs anymore. But
Right.
she had written this book, and her and I had the opportunity during Kathleen's trial to engage with one another, and we got to know each other. And I was just amazed by what she had created here. So we started to work together. And 5 years to the day that my sister-in-law went missing on October 28th, 2012, Susan passed from cancer. So her work kind of was kept up by various people that had been engaged with her during this period of time. They kept it going. And I was not able to take the work up until I knew that my brother-in-law was not going to get out of jail anymore, because I was, as my husband likes to put it, not a very good sister-in-law. So he kind of found that out in various ways during discovery. And so I had to make sure that he was never going to get out of jail
Right.
before I could come out and publicly do this work. So once he actually got more time for threatening to kill the Will County State's attorney. And so that ensured that no matter whatever happened with his case with Kathleen Savio, he was never going to be able to get out of prison. So since doing so, it's been probably in the last 8 to 10 years that I've been slowly building this up in terms of taking on the executive director, being the face of Document the Abuse, while all these other people were, keeping the movement going, and now really engaging in it and taking it forward and bringing it to all kinds of different places that it can go. And really, I do this in honor of Stacy, Kathleen, and Susan. This will
Sure,
be
all
their
of them. Yeah.
legacy.
Right,
This
it's
is
their legacy,
how,
right. And
right, this is
they
how we
help
take them
others.
forward.
Absolutely. And take what was learned from there. So, we have a listener today, and we're going to talk about different listeners that might be out there today. Let's talk about the listener who is the victim of domestic violence and is in that fearful situation. They know that maybe they're too afraid to move right now. Maybe they can't do anything. They know it's happening. They want to keep it, but if they keep that evidence in the house, it'll go missing or it'll cause more problems. So, tell us what that listener can hear from you about how to get started on this journey and how to document the abuse.
So, first of all, I want to tell you that we're here for you. If you are a victim survivor, if you're worried about a situation to which you are in fear or in harm, this is the perfect resource for you to be able to engage in. It's like a digital diary. So just by going on the website, so if it is what's called a web-based app, so you can go to any place that you can access internet. So whether it's a library, your best friend's house, your mother's house, your father's house, wherever you feel safe to engage on either a mobile device or a computer. We do have a PDF, you can print it out. But if you do it in a safe space like that, you don't have to worry about whether that other person that you are in fear of is going to find that information out. And the really cool part about this is that you can upload anything that helps to validate, substantiate, or corroborate anything that you're stating. So if you have emails, if you have screen captures, if you have photographs, we can
Right.
hold all of that for you, because sometimes we know that you have to leave the house or leave your place of stability quickly. And we know you can't always grab your stuff,
Right.
or that you're in fear that it's going to get destroyed because you left it behind because you had no choice. So we want to take that fear away from you. And we want you to, so it's as simple as go on Document the Abuse. There is an instruction page on there that preps you for going on there. It's really just a 3-page form. So we didn't want to make it overwhelming.
Right.
There's a video portion. So very quickly we can ask you to say, I am. So let's just say if for training purposes, I'll use Kathleen Savio's information. Kathleen Savio, on Tuesday, October 14th at 2:20, filled out this evidentiary abuse affidavit. So if I go missing or if something happens to me, but more so, we want to prevent that to happening to anyone. And so by you getting all your information in one place,
Right.
you can now take that information and decide what you want to do with it. You can then, when you're ready,
Mm-hmm.
decide how you want to move forward. And when you do, now you've got all your information in one place. And now you sound, very confident and concise and cohesive. And so maybe you're that much more believable and you've got all your facts together and you feel better about what you're going to do moving forward. So that's what we're trying to engage in, is prevention, not necessarily after the fact like we had to do, but that's what it will do in those
Right.
kinds of situations.
And that information is held confidential,
We
right?
never look at, those are never opened. They are held on your behalf. Nothing's ever touched, nothing's ever opened. Now, there is a caveat. So sometimes we know that victims, so unless you have a missing persons report or again, going back to the extreme where there is a homicide like there was for Kathleen.
Right.
If you have something like that and a police officer comes to document the abuse and says, I have either a missing persons report or I have a homicide here that's domestically violence, and we were told you have an EAA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, present me that, present me your credentials, present us the appropriate information, we're going to then be able to tell you yes or no, do we have one? So
Got it.
that just, all that does is tell us yes or no. If I can tell someone yes in that type of a scenario, now what they're going to do is come back with a subpoena for us to
Right.
then be able to release that information because someone is not here to speak on their own behalf.
And it's a wonderful pool of information that could lead to exactly where you need to be able to investigate it, help save that person, preserve evidence, whatever you need to do, right?
Right. So in the event that, let's say, you're really scared and something's happening, and so you tell someone, if I go missing, go to the police and tell them I have this EAA, and then they can call us because now there's some kind of a report that's associated that gives us then the legal things that we need in order to be able to do this. So the caveat that I was talking about is what we know is sometimes victims want to tell authorities or want to tell the state's attorney or want to tell people, but they don't want to do it in front of their abuser because now that's going to create a problem for them.
Right.
Outside of the evidentiary abuse affidavit and on the website itself, there is a check box that says you are allowed to share this information.
Okay.
So now what we're doing is we're allowing that victim to, let's say, save face. And I've said, because my abuser's standing with me or because I've changed my mind, because now I'm feeling like they're going to change and something's going to change. But now what I've done is I've opened that door for that SA or that whoever that is to say, maybe at one period of time when she first filled this out, she told them, okay, I'm going to fill this out so that the next time now it's really going to go through. Well, now if they've done that and somehow the SA knows that and that check mark has been done, now I can, because they have given permission at that period of time, be able to hand that information over. So now in front of an abuser, they can say, no, I'm not helping you. I'm not doing this. But in the meantime, there is a, hey, guess what I have, or maybe
Behind the
previously,
scenes, right.
so what we're doing is kind of creating an out, if you will, for that victim to be able to safely say, no, I don't want to, but yet somehow be able to bring that information forward because at one period of time they thought they might want to do this. So
And
what we're doing is offering that option.
sure. And often I think documenting at the time it occurs is a much more detailed story than it is later on. So, we do divorce work, and sometimes 3 years later, somebody's trying to remember when it happened. And by the time they put a date with it, they don't remember all the scenario. But if you go in and you document the abuse in real time, it's one, more credible in a lot of ways. And number two, it's there. The whole story is there and it's very useful. So it's something that people can do even if they're not ready to act. And maybe they have small kids, or maybe there's a threat, or there's a health situation at the time. There's a lot of different circumstances, and I don't think you're assessing blame or passing judgment on that. You're just preserving that evidence for them for the future, correct?
That's why we call it a digital diary, because it's not ours to look at. This is not our story. We're trying to give autonomy back to that victim survivor. And here's another great thing. You can update this as much as you want. That's what I mean. No judgment. Nobody to say, oh, this is going on again, or no, we don't. This isn't our story. This is not our story to tell. This is yours. We just want to be the story holder. So we're like the library. And
Right.
we're the librarians that get to hold those stories, but we never open them. We never look at them. So as often as you have to update that, as often as you have to add another picture, what's really cool about this is when you are like, let's say I'm using my phone to get online or
Right.
to do this. So now I'm on here. I can take a picture of, let's say, a hole in the wall. And if I'm in the app itself, or if I'm on the web-based app, it's
Right.
going to upload that picture directly to my EAA and it bypasses holding it on the phone.
Right.
So
So
you're
it,
not taking that picture from the phone itself. It's using it just as the vehicle by which it's gathering that information, and it's going directly into the platform itself. So now I can very quickly, so I don't have to worry about whether I need to, did I delete that picture? Oh, no, and the reason that we made it a web-based app is we didn't want it on the App Store. We didn't want it that it was a downloadable thing that could be found somewhere on some list or in the App Store or something like that. That way, it's web-based. It's not in here, but you can use this for it.
Sure.
Yeah, and like I said, you can update it as much as you want. If for some reason you get out of one situation and now sometimes we find ourselves in a different situation that we never expected. Start another one.
Right.
Start
Start
a
the
different one. Again, this is not our story to tell. We're not asking you for for anything. We just want to be the holder of your stories. That's all, and give you a place to tell them so that maybe by getting it out or being able to take a look at it, because like you said, you're so busy living that day to day. So if I write this down today and then something happens 3 months from now and I write it down, and then 6 months from now it got a little escalated because now we know that that's how that's going to roll. So 6 months from now I go to open it again, and now I'm looking at this pattern of behavior and thinking, you know what? This is not what I wanted for myself. This is not what I wanted for my family. So now maybe what I do is I go out and I start to look for the resources that are going to help me change that outcome or that situation, or help me in some form or fashion. And now I can see it because now it's out on paper now, or now it's a visual I can look at because now I've assembled all this information. So what we're hoping is, again, creating that impetus. Something
Yeah.
big happens when you create impetus, and
And
that's
you
what
have
we're
something.
hoping that will create is
Right.
impetus.
Well, and those are the records. So now let's talk about the other audience member who's out there listening today, and maybe they've had a friend who's been a victim, a family member, as in the case of your story, and they say, okay, Norma, I want to get involved in some way. I don't know how I can. Tell that person, address for them what they can do for your organization.
Okay, so there's a lot of different things that you can do. First, what we always want to do is if you're trying to help someone who's close to you, or let's say a coworker, I mean, really this works, especially in with victims of domestic violence, but really in any form or fashion that you feel that you're in danger. So whether it's stalking or harassment or, workplace issues, so if you're witnessing this, maybe you want to fill out an EAA. So now you're corroborating someone's story. Or maybe you can't get them to fill it out because they don't feel safe, even within the context of our platform, regardless of whatever safety protocols we may have put in place. I just can't, so now maybe every time they come to you and they have a scratch, or they have a black eye, or they have, stories that they're telling you, or photographs that they're giving you, or screen captures that they're sending you, you start assembling all of this on their behalf. Maybe that's some way that you can then engage and
Yeah,
believe survivors when they tell you, because no one wants to say, I'm a victim.
right.
I can guarantee you no one wants to say they're a victim.
Mhm.
So if they're coming to you and they're saying this, believe them first and foremost. That's what you can do. Next, either tell them about document the abuse, tell them about the EAA, and if you can't get them to do it, maybe do it on their behalf. If you want to help us with the work that we're doing, which is basically providing trainings for our communities, for various government organizations. I work on the DuPage Family Violence Coordinating Council. So, also part of the Fatality Review Board here in Illinois, in the Will County Regional, doing a lot of educating in various institutions. This Friday, I'm doing the Illinois Coalition Against Sexual Assault. A couple weeks ago, I did the Illinois Department of Veteran Affairs. End of the month, I'm on a panel for the Chicago Bar and the DuPage County Bar Association in conjunction with Wings, which is the largest domestic violence shelter provider in the state. So doing everything that we can. So anything that helps support that mission. We just became our own 501(c)(3), so it's now all tax deductible.
Congratulations to you
I
because
know,
you
I'm
went
so
home and
happy.
you're to a new
I
level.
mean, it really, what it is Susan envisioned so much for Document the Abuse to be able to provide for victim survivors that she was also.
That's
She
very
had her own domestic violence survival story that was just heartbreaking. And
Right.
so,
And then
I
you get the
mean, it's
payment
just
down.
all these people, I mean, we know what the statistics are. We know that this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Right.
And what I keep telling everybody is we're very well aware. What we need is a Domestic Violence Awareness Action Month. Everybody should take at least one action every day during the month of October. That would get us somewhere. Because
Right.
if collectively we each did one thing every day, imagine the mountains we could move.
Well, let's say somebody's listening today, Norma, and they're saying, okay, maybe I have money, maybe I have time, maybe I have other talents that I can offer and give to you. How would they get a hold of Document the Abuse for that purpose?
We are located on websites, on Facebook page, LinkedIn, pretty much almost all of the various social sites that are out there. We do have a page on Twitter just to say that we're there because I find Twitter to be a little toxic to be on these days. But in terms of anywhere that you can find us, that's where we are, and spreading the word out because literally it's a ripple effect. And we're
100%.
going to be doing a training, we're calling, in honor of Stacy's missing anniversary on October 28th. We're charging $30. That helps to, it's gonna help us to, raise donations for Document the Abuse so that we can continue this work. Just came back from a conference in, Orlando, Florida for the National Center for the Victims of Crime.
Nice.
And got to do an hour and a half presentation on document the abuse in the EAA. So we have seen the benefits of this literally across the US. And because this was such a big story, I have done actually a few different conferences in different states and getting out there. And people are really, it's really
Wonderful.
resonating.
And I think sometimes people listening today, they don't even know where to start. If you're the victim, you don't know where to start. You want to call an attorney, but you're afraid, you want to do something, but this is something confidential you can do. Or
Right.
alternatively, you want to help out. So there's a lot of opportunities. If you're listening today, continue to follow Document the Abuse. We'll have you back on in the future about things that you're doing in your organization. And we certainly appreciate your time today. And we are honored to call you our not-for-profit hero of the month.
Oh, thank you so much. It is greatly appreciated. And to everyone out there that's listening, believe survivors. That is the biggest gift that you can give them, truly. And tell them about the EAA. You never know who you might be helping. We all
That's right.
either know someone, we are someone, or we can help someone.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.